March 1st, 2013, and I'm just now getting the LOCO-MOTIVE ready for its first startups since about a year ago. We've done a lot of major work to it, and I'll go on we'll take a quick tour of it real quick. All the exhaust is new or overhauled. Wastegates, pipes, clamps, turbos, cross pipes. We've actually added heat shield to the back here. They didn't have a shield on here before. They didn't have these support brackets on before, one on each side to keep the turbos up. These brackets were not installed when he had the plane before. So basically the turbos were holding all this on the back side of the engine. From what I understand, one of these clamps failed on them when they got it up here. Anyway, it looks kind of tacky, but I've got it rigged up to check our timing. I've got a little stick camera mounted here that'll read our timing marks that I've got set up. We've got 3 pickups, so I have them set up for each pickup that it needs to read on. Normally the prop governor cable attaches to the plenum that covers the engine, so I have the governor safety wired so it's not going to go anywhere when we run it. The prop's probably going to have to come back off to have repainted anyway, so we're not too worried about it. Those are MSD coils, and all the bracketry has been custom made. The oil cooler is a new oil cooler. It's a little bit larger. I got the mounting brackets set up on it. Ran all the plumbing, all the fuel hoses, all the oil lines, any air lines, anything in the engine compartment. Brand new high temperature fluid resistant lines are through the whole thing. Big oil lines, fuel lines, and it's not that big floppy fireproof covering. This is actually that I think they call it J124 fire sleeve that's actually molded onto the hose. We've got a new engine mount. The other mount was insufficient. These mounts here are new. The other ones were insufficient. They weren't large enough. They had little old puny rubber mounts holding it up, and they kept sagging, and the exhaust was hitting the frame and everything. All the induction hoses are new. The clamps are new. I've put fireproofing on a lot of the electrical lines. You can see throughout. Back here, especially on the firewall, it's going to get really hot since there's hardly any airflow back there. Yeah, anything that needed painted, we painted. Anything that needed to be coated or powder coated, we had it coated. We've got a couple of new cables for the engine controls. We've got new filters, high flow filters we're going to try out. We've had a custom made angled attachment tube fabricated to allow the angle for them to fit underneath the cowling nice and snug. Again, all the cables and stuff are new. It's been repainted. We've got one of the wings out right now being painted. I just put 12 gallons of fuel on board, so we're going to run it here in a little while as soon as Jay shows up after lunch. But this is going to be a momentous day. It's been a long time since he's seen this thing run, and with all the things that we found wrong with it, I think he's really going to be happy with it. I guess we'll find out once it gets running. I'll just go through the rest of the plane real quick. The gear's been repainted. It has retractable gear. There again, the fuselage has been painted, so I've got protective covering on most of it. I've got the interior mostly back together. We've added, this is a fuel shut-off cable to actually shut the fuel off on this side, on the inboard side of the firewall. It had a valve on it, but it was safety wired in the open position. So the only way to shut off the fuel to the engine in case of an emergency there was no way. It was just your normal fuel cutoff, and that's outside in the engine compartment. We've also installed a fire bottle up in the nose. It's going to be it's plumbed to the engine, so we've still got all that plumbing. The plumbing is back to the engine, but it needs to be positioned and put nozzles on. There's some of the interior. We've redone a lot of the fiberglass. We've taken all the little rough edges, smoothed them off, got all the little frayed edges that were still fiberglass that were cutting you, and we just smoothed everything out, made it look a lot better. We've had everything out. Anything that looked like it was getting corroded, we either had powder coated or painted. We really haven't done anything with the interior other than take stuff out and reinstall it. It's all kind of dusty because we had reinstalled it before it went to paint, and we probably should have had it painted first, but you learn. I've got the captain's seat in, and batteries are charged up, ready to go. There's the new panel I'm installing for the we're installing heat sensors in the engine compartment so we can find out how hot it gets back there. I bled the brakes yesterday, and I'm glad to see there's no leaks and no bubbles in the lines. There's one of our batteries there. Hydraulic pump. Some of the wiring, some of the oxygen bottle stuff. Here's the fire bottle we've installed. There's a safety pin that needs to be taken out when we're done with everything. I'll have to flag that before it's all said and done. Landing light. Forward oil cooler. This box is going to provide heat for the cabin. It'll be air ducted. And there's the hydraulic reservoir for the brakes. There's one of the 12-volt batteries. There's the other 12-volt that I actually cut off some of this. I cut down this step and made it lower so that the battery would fit further underneath the oxygen bottle. And it also made it clear the gear a little bit better, because your gear comes right up into here. There's a hydraulic pump for the main gear. Your O2 bottle sits in here. It's over there on the shelf. There's another electrical box for the landing gear. And we haven't touched the avionics or anything, but we've gone through and made sure everything's working. Of course, we've got a lot of stuff that goes on the canard for the avionics portion, but we can get past that for an engine run. This is the emergency gear extension lever. It allows the pressure to free flow through your hydraulic system and then the gear can just free float down, and the air forces will lock it into place, and then the nose gear has a pin that goes in here that makes sure that this linkage is over center. We've got the pitot system set up. Put a new static port on it. This isn't new, the pitot tube, but it's nice and shiny. And I just put in the seat today. I painted up the tracks, so now we've got a place to sit and man the brakes when we run it up. All right, that's it. I'll probably put the camera on a tripod when we run it, but it's really looking good. I'm really happy with it. It's I'll probably have to open this up too to let air through for the oil cooler. That ought to work. All right. Stay tuned for the for the engine run, and we'll see how that goes.